defensive letdown. How'd you see it?
I mean, again, I cannot attribute everything to Jimmy Garoppolo because the defense could have saved the 49ers in this game. They had every opportunity to snatch this win from the jaws of defeat, and they just were completely incapable. A high quality defense. Now, I'm not comparing this defense to 2019, and I think it's a foolish errand to try and equate them to the 2019 defense, which was a dominant defense. But to allow 6 third-and-long conversions in the second half, a good defense gets off the field on one of those. Gets off the field on one of those at a minimum. Ward's missed interception opportunity was another chance where the 49ers could have snatched the game back. And to have a solid run defense where, 24 carries for 90 yards, including that long run by Tannehill at the end, the dagger in the back, it just is maddening to watch them completely unravel in their pass protection, to lose to one freaking player.
Yeah, Yeah.
It says a lot.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Comparing him to 2019, his pass rush is legit. They sacked Tannehill 4 times. But usually when you have this good of a front seven, it enhances the cornerback play. And in 2019, the Niners didn't have the greatest cornerbacks, but they had Emmanuel Mosley and Richard Sherman. And I was always saying, Richard Sherman's overrated. And he was. He was slow. He couldn't cover man-to-man. But you give him a great pass rush, put him in zone coverage, he made plays. If you threw to his side of the field, he could jump routes. He could understand. He could read, pass patterns, and he would intercept passes. He was dangerous. Norman doesn't do that. Norman just plays really soft and gives up the catch and then tries to punch it out after. Like, that's what he does. And then you got Ambry Thomas, who's, learning and should have been playing earlier, frankly. Not as good as Emmanuel Mosley. So they're just way undermanned at a very critical position, and it's not anyone's fault but John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan.
Agree there. I do think that, to your point on assigning some blame to D'Amico Ryan, that you have to scheme around that at some point. You have to acknowledge your own deficiency and be able to create a scheme that masks it to some extent, that at least slows down the opposition. And to your point of comparing the cornerbacks to 2019, you had Richard Sherman who would bait quarterbacks into making poor throws. And Josh Norman seems to do the same thing in playing off with no intention of then making the play, right? He is going to allow the catch, allow a few yards after the catch, and then, to your point, go for the peanut punch.
Like, that's not defense. That is not defense. And he does have a bunch of forced fumbles this year, not in a while, but it's not something you can make a living on. So, yeah, I just don't see is this team a contender? We could talk about Jimmy, but the cornerback position is very important too, and I don't see how they're good enough there. I mean, they're worse there than they were 2 years ago. And now Mosley's coming back. But Norman, dude, what are you doing on the field? Sorry.
Have to agree.
Sacktown Mike says, how come we didn't run the ball to even out the pass? Even when Jimmy threw 2 picks, we kept passing. Also, why also how many 3rd and 10s did they convert? I don't know. Why did they keep passing, Rob? Because that's what they wanted to do.
So it's a blessing and a curse. Kyle Shanahan, and Steve Young made this point so eloquently when he talked about Kyle Shanahan being almost like, a shark who smells blood in the water. When he senses the weakness of the defense, he attacks it relentlessly, just as his father did before him. The issue here
regardless of his own strength, right? Yep.
Right. The issue here is that he's relying on Jimmy Garoppolo in order to attack the defense here. And Jimmy fell well short of what was needed in order to compete.
Right. Bad Jimmy comes out whenever they depend on him to win the game with his arm. Mediocre play with all those weapons is inexcusable. Well, that's why they traded for Lance. Hopefully he'll be ready next year. Hopefully the Mahomes plan works. When Jimmy G missed Ayuk on the 4th down, you can see Kyle hot as fish grease in the background. I love that. Ayuk kicking the ball after scoring showed us his frustration with Jimmy Garoppolo. Yeah, it's a very frustrated team. It's a very interesting dynamic. I wish I was in the locker room so I could have a better insight into what's going on. But it just feels like a very, anytime they lose a game, it's like it's the end of the world. They're still a winning team right now, but it's very bitter feeling when they lose.
That's the interesting thing is I think a lot of fans coming in thought this game was a toss-up, thought it was possible the 49ers would lose. And had they lost in some other fashion, I don't know that we would have the emotional outpouring that we're seeing today. But because it was so maddening.
Yeah. Thursday night football,
right.
let it go. You should have won this game. Yeah.
Should have. I mean, it was in our grasp and just let it go. And it was in typical 49er meltdown fashion that is emblematic of this season in its totality.